Okay, this is 8.4 part 3, and we're talking about standard deviation and range. If you did not watch part 2 or part 1, please go back and do so. Part 1 is covering range, part 2 covers how to do standard deviation. So for this third part, we have just a couple problems left that I would like to do. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to do range and standard deviation. So part A is range. And to find the range, remember we take the highest value minus the lowest one. So the highest value in this data is 13, and the lowest one in this data value is 2. So 13 minus 2 is 11. That is the range. All right, so part B says, hey, I want you to find the standard deviation. So remember the standard deviation formula is the square root of, and yeah, I did that wrong. So let's do that again. The square root of x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. Okay, so to figure out the standard deviation, I need n. So let's find that. That's the number of data points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is n. And now I also need the mean. So find the mean first. And remember the formula for that is to sigma x, or sum all the x values, and divide that by n. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started. We're going to do 13. Plus 8, plus 2, plus 4, plus 13. Okay? And then we're going to divide that by n, which is 5. So on my calculator, I'm going to add 13 plus 8 plus 2 plus 4 plus 13. And I'm double checking to make sure I entered everything in right really quick, and it looks good. So when I add those all up, I get 40, and I'm going to divide that by 5. So the standard deviation actually works out really nice, because 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay, so the mean is 8. Now my next step is to make a chart. So we're going to do x as the first column. That's my data points. Then I'm going to have x minus x bar, and then I'm going to leave some space, and I'm going to do x minus x bar squared. Okay. All right, so I made the chart. I need, there's 5 different data points, so let me put that in there. Might be a good idea to do this as well. Okay, so 1, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. Oh, I hate when this happens. 4 rows, and then the 5th row. So I'm just going to redraw in the columns really quick. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put my x values in. The first one is 13. The second one is 8, 2, 4, and 13. Okay. So the first data point is 13 minus the mean, which we found was 8. 13 minus 8 is 5. Now I'm going to take 5 and square it. And when I square 5, I get 25. Because remember, 5 squared means 5 times 5. The next data point is 8. So 8 minus 8 is 0. 0 squared is 0. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. And negative 4 squared will give me a positive 16. And finally, 13 minus 8, which we've done this before, equals 5. And 5 squared is 25. Okay, so second thing, we made a chart. We're done with that. The third thing is now find standard deviation. So remember, the formula says that I have to sum all the x minus x bars together, because that's what the numerator of the standard deviation formula says. So I'm going to take x minus x bar and sum it, and then we're going to do n minus 1. By the way, in part B, for the formula, please go ahead and put a sigma up there. I just added it, and I'm going to highlight what I just added because I forgot to put that in that formula up at the top of B. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out the sum of x minus x bar squared. So what we're going to do is add 25 plus 0 plus 36 plus 16 plus 25. So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding the values that we found in the x minus x bar squared column. Okay, again, I'm putting this in my calculator, so I get 25 plus 0 plus 36 plus 16 plus 25. And I'm just making sure that I have all those numbers correct, because I think I stated before in the last video, it's really easy to make a mistake with these. So I would highly recommend checking as you go through it. So just double check everything. Okay, so standard deviation equals the square root of 102, which is the sum of x minus x bar squared, over n minus 1. Remember, n was 5. So 5 minus 1 will give me 4. So 102 over 4. So let's figure out what that is. Standard deviation equals the square root of 25.5. Now I have to take the square root of that. And again, this is a common mistake where people forget to do that last step. So don't forget to take the square root of that value underneath there. So standard deviation of this particular data is 5.049. I'm going to round this to the hundredths place. So if I round this to the hundredths place, the standard deviation equals 5.05. So this is my answer, 5.05. Okay. So let's check out this next bit. This next thing says calculate the standard deviation for the following set of sample data. We have 20, 15, 13, 5, and 19. So we're just doing standard deviation. Let's go ahead and write up n. N is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so n equals 5. Now we're going to calculate the mean. Remember, we need x bar for the mean. So let's put a little bar over top of that x. And to find the mean, again, the formula is to sum up all your x values and divide them by n. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that. So 20 plus 15 plus 13 plus 5 plus 19. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points. So n is 5. Okay. So again, I'm going to take 20 plus 15 plus 13 plus 5 plus 19. And again, I'm just double checking to make sure I have the original numbers plugged into my calculator. I'm going to hit enter, and I get 72. Now I'm going to divide that by 5. And I got 14.4. So x bar equals 14.4. Now we have a chart in this case, so we're going to fill it in below. The second column should say x minus x bar, so let's go ahead and put the bar in there. And this should say x minus x bar squared. So all I did was denote that we're taking x minus the mean. Okay? So The mean, remember, is 14.4. So the first one I'm going to do 13 minus 14.4. And when I do that, I get negative 1.4. Now I'm going to take that negative 1.4 and I'm going to square it. And by the way, be careful when you enter this in your calculator. With these negative numbers, I would put the negative in front and leave everything in parentheses just as you're seeing here. So on the calculator, I did parentheses, negative 1.4, close parentheses, and then I squared it. So this next one is 8 minus 14.4. So this is negative 6.4. So again, on the calculator, you're going to take parentheses negative 6.4, and you're going to square that value. When you square a negative, you should always get a positive value in return. So that's how you can tell if it's right or not. Notice that we're getting positive values here. Okay, 2 minus 14.4. And that's negative 12.4. We're going to square that. And this one's 153.76. 4 minus 14.4, which is going to give me 10.4. And then I'm going to take that value and square it. I get 108.16. And the last one is 13 minus 14.4. Negative 1.4, which we have that at the very beginning. We have the same value. So negative 1.4 squared, if you look at the first row, it's 1.96. Okay, so now I'm going to sum that. So I'm going to figure out the total. Remember, that's the sum of x minus x bar squared. So we're going to add 1.96 plus 40.96 plus 153.76 plus 108.16 plus 1.96. And we're going to check to see what that equals. So 1.96 plus 40.96 plus 153.76 plus 108.16 plus 1.96. And I'm double checking my numbers just to make sure I didn't make a mistake here. Okay, and what I get is 306.8. Now that's the sum of everything. So I'm going to put this down here. 306.8, because it says what's the total? This is the total. Now calculate the standard deviation. So standard deviation equals the square root of x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. And remember, we're summing that. Okay, so the summation of x minus x bar squared is 306.8. Now we're going to divide that by n minus 1. So n is 5, minus 1 is 4. So now we get 306.8 divided by 4. So I'm going to do that. And that equals the square root of 76.7. So the last thing I have to do is take the square root of that. And when I enter in the answer, it's 8.757. Now it says to round to the nearest 2 decimal places, which is the hundredths place. So when I do that, I get 8.76. So the standard deviation for this set of data is 8.76. Okay, and that's the end of this section. So thanks for watching.